The United States Air Force uses Cairo as their cover location for all sensitive ops.
The United States Air Force does? Yo, do we have any United States Air Force in the chat? I got to hit up Nate and ask him if he knows any Air Force bros.
Conspiracy theories are entering a dangerous...
Information is the oxygen of the democracy.
There's so much evidence out there that even if less than 1% is true, that would be enough to collapse the current paradigm and change the whole planet.
Oh, you're not going to want to miss this. I hope Ian's in the chat.
Let's go.
I got an email, and I have agreed to keep this person confidential. I got an email about these Egyptian planes.
Oh.
I was watching a live stream. I see someone said he's there. Good. You're going to want to see this, Ian. I was watching one of Ian's live streams.
It's a party.
And he's covering these Egyptian planes, and he realizes, hey, the times don't match up.
Yep.
Like they say they're flying to Cairo, and then they turn the transponders off, or they lose contact for some reason, and then the times are all off. You're going to love this. So there's a little intro. When we fly in and out of Israel, well, Israel, you say? Well, I thought we were talking about Cairo. This is a part of a back and forth email. When we fly out in and out of Israel.
Before we go on, I'm just going to say that I have heard some leaks. I have heard some rumors. I have heard some theories from various sources about what I think we're about to get into.
The United States Air Force uses Cairo as their cover location for all sensitive ops.
The United States Air Force does? Yo, do we have any United States Air Force in the chat? I got to hit up Nate and ask him if he knows any Air Force bros.
Even regionally, like out of Qatar. So they file the flight plan to Cairo, turn off transponders, and then actually fly in and out of Nevatim Air Force Base. Nevatim, Nevatim Air Force Base. That is in Israel. If they turn off the ADS-B, then fly to Nevatim, then fly on to Cairo and turn the transponder back on in Egyptian airspace, flight tracking software will fill in the gaps without registering the Israel stop, and it will look like they are just on a direct flight to Cairo. For almost every sensitive cargo mission, the USAF uses Nevatim Air Force Base, which is always a blackout on comms. I'll read that sentence again. For almost every sensitive cargo mission, the USAF uses Nevatim Air Force Base, which is always a blackout on comms. Flying blind in and out, no tracking, so they are often flying VFR in daylight hours missions. Ian, what time are these planes supposedly landing that are having the trouble with the timing? You had flights that you were having trouble reconciling the timing. Were those day flights or night flights?
We're going to watch everything he says, and then we'll go back to this.
Touch and go at Cairo if they think they're being monitored. Usually, it's a surprise to the Cairo air traffic control, these deviations and go-arounds. So they're being used for this, but not read in. That's interesting. USAF are able to turn their ADS-B off and Mode S2 so that the trips to Israel aren't captured on any flight data logs. They've been directed to do this since at least 2024 while flying in CENTCOM. In other parts of CENTCOM, this is at the commander's discretion, but if they're going to Nevatim Air Force Base, it's mandatory. Especially if they are moving weapons, munitions, bombs, etc. into Israel. It occurred to me that the Cairo flights might not be to Cairo at all.
I have been suspecting and wondering the same thing for quite some time.
So I need to get with Ian and say, hey, when are your flights that you're having trouble meshing the timeline? Because if those flights are daytime flights, And it looks to you like enough time would be that they could file their flight plan to Cairo, turn the transponder off, go past Cairo to Israel, land, unload cargo, get back up into Egyptian airspace, transponder back on, and then land in Cairo. Now you've got yourself an issue. Number two. That was number one. Number two. I noticed this.
So
you have Egyptian planes.
What he was just talking about was actually about American planes. He was talking about American Air Force planes. That's going to be a whole new dig to do. What we're looking at is Egyptian planes. And the question is, are some of these Egyptian planes actually spoofed Israeli planes that are spoofing that their takeoff and landing locations are actually in Cairo when they're actually taking off from somewhere in Israel? And I've been digging around on that for a long time here. And it's a near impossible thing to prove from the flight data alone. But there's a lot of interesting details that come up when you learn about that.
And they're going to LBG Airport in Paris instead of Charles de Gaulle Airport in Paris.
Yeah, big time. And LBG is
this person
an intelligence hub.
I also wanted to mention that the Paris airport being LBG instead of CDG, Charles de Gaulle, is, in my opinion, a big deal. That's a general aviation airport, the fourth kind of aircraft like you mentioned on your show. That means it has just FBOs, almost no security, and doesn't have commercial flights in or out. It is the Wild West. I think it would be worth exploring if the Cairo flights are even out of Cairo, especially since the Paris flights are out of a little airstrip, and the Minot flights are not out of a military base, but rather out of Minot International Airport nearby. Specifically, it looks like they park at a small FBO there, AV Flight Minot. That is similar to how they park in Duncan and Provo, way off the main drag. Not many planes in or out from what I saw. I'm wondering if they are flying obscure FBOs to avoid scrutiny. This is very unusual for a foreign military, quote, unheard of. That's point two. So point one, the reason the timing may be off on Cairo is because they're not flying into Cairo at all. Or they are, but after they make a pit stop. Point two, hey, have you noticed they're landing at these little airstrips? This is a foreign military jet. A foreign military jet that the king of Egypt flies on, or the president of Egypt flies on. I don't know if they have a king. They got a pharaoh. What do they have over there these days?
A pharaoh?
It's a president, right?
They got a pharaoh, brah. All right, joint live stream right now, Baron.
All right, point three.
Point three.
Holy mackerel, you got another fan. You've got another fan.
Oh, gosh, get over it. I got a girlfriend.
I don't know if that's the same person that was going on about Ian, liking tall guys with mustaches. All right. The standard operating procedure, this is number three, for all foreign military personnel is that they be escorted on and off any U.S. airfield they fly into. Like they deplane and get directly onto a bus that has escorts for their entire stay. This is true of any foreign military. I've got to skip some of this so as not to out this person. Hold on. Seem to have the same rules, seem to be Israelis. We are never sure how they get in or out, and they don't always have escorts. They operate on U.S. soil as they wish. In 2023, Israel and the United States lifted the IDF travel restrictions into and out of the United States. Since October 19, 2023, they have been able to fly any nation or friendly commercial partners into the U.S. without a visa for up to 90 days. My conclusion, I get the feeling Egypt might be a cover. It would be a very smart way for Israel to do whatever they want in the U.S. without oversight.
Yup.
So that's the next point.
That's a smart leaker.
And here's the final point, and then I'm going to...
That's a smart leaker. Now we're getting somewhere. Now we are getting somewhere.
I'm going to pull up some regulations that I think would put us on the path.
I'm curious if he's about to talk about the regulations over the med.
To finding here. So this information is coming from an email. I know people jump in and out of live streams. This is coming from an email of somebody who knows these things. Last point here. Any foreign military aircraft should be using a military base or joint base for U.S. travel. In Wilmington, for example, they should be in and out of Dover, not ILG. They should be in and out of Minot Air Force Base, not AV flight at Minot Airport. These are not joint use airfields.
He's dropping heat. He's dropping
Even
some
then,
bombs.
if they're foreign diplomats, they need to use joint use airfields with a diplomatic clearance and have an MLAND number. This would appear to be something else. I cannot tell you how alarmed I am this is happening. And there's some other stuff, but I don't want to give away anything that would give away who that person is. So here's and I'm going to pull up something that I think should, if anybody's enterprising and wants to file such things. Oh my gosh, are you really? You're seeing gambling ads as you watch? Ugh, you
Dude,
shouldn't be.
gross.
I blocked them.
Gross. Oh, I didn't know we could block them.
Where is it?
That's cool.
I'm going to pull up a regulation and read through this. This will give us an idea.
So I just pinned on a map where all of the airstrips in Cairo are, in the Cairo area. And we are going to examine some of these Cairo flights and see what we see in a second here. We're about to get nerdy.
Down. This is a little nerdy stuff here.
Yeah, we're about to get nerdy,
This is going to
Baron.
give us an idea of why these Egyptian flights are so much more devastatingly scary than what we think we already know.
Yep.
This is the diplomatic aircraft clearance procedures for foreign state aircraft to operate in United States national airspace.
Okay,
This is a
not what I
law.
was expecting.
This is not a suggestion. If you want to fly a foreign aircraft into the United States, a foreign government aircraft into the United States, this is the law you must follow. You must get, for example, a diplomatic clearance number. It has to be issued in advance by the U.S. Department of State. Let me blow this up a little bit here.
Ooh.
There you go.
Real quick, I'm going to backtrack a little bit. Anytime you see someone on a stream say something like with a source like this, diplomatic aircraft clearance procedures for foreign state aircraft. Cool. Got it.
For foreign state aircraft to operate in United States national airspace. This is a law. This is not a suggestion. If you want to fly a foreign aircraft into the United States, a foreign government aircraft into the United States, this is the law you must follow. You must get, for example, a diplomatic clearance number. It has to be issued in advance by the U.S. Department of State. Let me blow this up a little bit here. There you go. So that's number one. You got to get a diplomatic clearance number. Number two, in order to obtain one, you must submit an application via the web-based diplomatic clearance application system, which means there should be a written record of every one of these Egyptian flights. And we're going to find out more about what's on this record. It's good. It's really good. But the DCAS is the process you use to fill out a DCN, to get a unique diplomatic clearance number. Now, how long ahead of time do you have to do this? No less than 3 business days in advance. So before the aircraft enters the United States, you must have every leg of your trip scheduled in advance 3 days before you show up. Number 4. Yes. So you have to have a DCM for your arrival into the United States. And it has to be pretty accurate within 3 hours. Your movement within the United States. So
None of this taking off 7 hours ahead of schedule like the Provo planes are doing.
you fly in to
Give or
Minot
take.
and then go to Provo and then go to Lincoln and go to Wichita and then go to Delaware and then fly out, your DCN must have that movement within the United States. And it must be amended if you change it. And then before you leave Wilmington to head to Paris, you must have that departure on there. So all of this has to be logged ahead of time. This is required for military. If you request to land at a military air force, and the foreign government is responsible for which airfields you're going to use. Here's the key here. It is the foreign government's responsibility to submit a complete manifest of both crew and passengers a minimum of 48 hours prior to arrival in the United States. So these planes, there should be a manifest that lists every single
And we can FOIA
person on these
them.
flights.
We can FOIA them.
They should be there.
All right, Baron. Now we're cooking with gas.
Complete manifest. And now 3, the procedures to submit for the clearance. Go down here to 3I, C3I. Your itinerary, again, has to be before arrival. Has to be before arrival. And then D1, here's your itinerary, excuse me. You must enter the date, time, and name of the airport from which it's departing immediately prior to entering the United States. You have to enter the date and time when it will be arriving at its first destination. You must list all airports you'll be transiting, the dates, the times of arrival and departure for each location. Everything in Zulu time, so there's no confusion. And then
We're
down
gonna
here,
FOIA them.
D1, the clearance
We're gonna
is valid
FOIA them.
only for this itinerary, which means you can't change it. You can't change your itinerary and then say, whoops. This is law, ladies and gentlemen. This is not a suggestion. This is not a polite request. This is not like when you go into the DMV to get your driver's license and they ask you to stand up against the wall on the left side. They can't arrest you if you stand on the right side. That's not how that works. So this evidence exists in all likelihood, or should. And if it doesn't exist, if you cannot produce this evidence, government, if you cannot produce this evidence, then who was on the planes and where were these planes going? Were they really going to Cairo? Were they really Egyptian passengers? Now I want to show you something an astute reader pointed me to.
Okay. Yeah, Baron. Yeah, now we're cooking. Now we are cooking. And I've got the same webpage pulled up right here. It all checks out. I've got a map of the airports around in the Cairo area that we can compare in a moment. But I've got a vibe. I've got something to admit to you too. I've got a secret to admit. I've never filed a FOIA request before. Never in my life have I filed a FOIA request. But I don't see why we shouldn't start right now. So, maybe we should start right now. Claude suggested that, hey, this is the information about the airports. I'm like, how would you go about FOIAing them? And it's like, well, the responsible office is the Bureau of Political Military Affairs, Office of Defense Integration, formerly known as the Office of International Security Operations. We're learning things. The office issues all DCNs through the Diplomatic Clearance Application System. Contact right there. What records exist? Submit your FOIA request to this online portal and this email. Command C. Command V. Or a mailing address. And here's a sample FOIA letter, but key considerations, they might claim these exemptions. So let's be specific. Request fee waiver. Emphasize journalistic purpose and public interest. Narrow scope if needed. If they push back on volume, you could limit to specific aircraft tail numbers. If you have them from Flight Radar 24, I do. Should we limit it to specifically our flights? Because we could do that. I know this might feel a little boring, but I think we're about to FOIA these bitches. I mean, these wonderful government employees. All right. So, please rewrite the sample. Here, I'll pull this up so that it's in your view so you guys can be involved in this. Please rewrite the sample FOIA request to specifically target SUBTV, SUBND, SUBTT, SUBTU, comma, and SUBGM. There are others, but those 5 are the most significant. There's 2 others that don't have as much spice on them. So I'm going to limit it to those 5 for now. Also, please include the more advanced and specific wording you just formulated, as well as the request for electronic submission of records. Respond. Cool. Freedom of Information Act request. U.S. Department of State. Read diplomatic clearance records for specific Egyptian state aircraft. Dear FOIA officer, pursuant to the Freedom of Information Act, blank, I request access to records from the diplomatic clearance application system maintained by the Bureau of Political Military Affairs, Office of Defense Integration, pertaining to diplomatic clearances issued for the following specific Egyptian registered state aircraft for the period of January 1st, 2024 through December 3rd, 2025. No. September 1st, 2024 through December 3rd, 2025. A few notes. Yeah, because it's just 5 aircrafts, they'll have a harder time claiming it's overly burdensome, but it's a very targeted request for government aircrafts, so they'll probably say no. Ooh, see? Claude's thinking ahead. Should we also ask Customs and Border Patrol? We'll do that next. For the period of September 1st, 2024 through December 3rd, 2025. This request is limited to records pertaining to the following 5 aircraft identified by Egyptian Civil Registration Number SUBTV through SUBGM. This includes any records where these aircrafts operate under diplomatic clearance regardless of call sign used, and any records where these registration numbers appear in any field of a DCAS application or related correspondence. Scope of request. We're asking for names of individual passengers, names of individual crew members, etc. This includes any records, scope of request. Let's reformat it so that it looks good. Thanks, Claude, for formatting for us. But who knows? Maybe it'll now be shortened lines when they actually open it and read it. I specifically request the following categories of information, which I believe are routinely disclosed, do not implicate classified sources or methods, and are unlikely to qualify for exemption. Ooh, yeah, fiery. Diplomatic clearance numbers issued for each aircraft, dates of approved clearances, aircraft type and model for each registration number, ICAO call signs filed on flight plans for each clearance, designation of aircraft category, etc. Operating entity or agency, for example, Egyptian Air Force, Egyptian Government Ministry, or charter operator. Category B, itinerary information. U.S. airports of entry, transit, and departure for each flight, etc. Whether military airfields or civilian airports were used. Any intermediate stops within U.S. airspace. Point of origin, departure country and airport, and final destination, if listed in application. Whether a military landing authorization number was issued for any flight. The issuing military branch, any prior permissions required, general stated purpose category is listed on each application, whether the flight was designated as VIP, any amendments filed to original clearance applications. Category D, correspondence and communications. Information expressly not requested to narrow the scope. Oh. Yeah, we're going to do this one without actually requesting the names of individual passengers. Then we can file another one that asks for those things. It might get denied, even without all of this stuff. In the alternative, if the department determines that individual flight records for these aircrafts cannot be disclosed in full, I request the following aggregate or summary data which would not implicate any exemption. Total number of DCMs issued for each of the 5 aircraft. Total number of flights into U.S. airspace by each aircraft. List of U.S. airports that received any of these 5 aircraft during the requested period. Breakdown of flights by general mission category. Number of flights by each aircraft that utilize military airfields versus civilian airports. Date range of operations for each aircraft. Solid. If exemptions are claimed, Claude is so thorough. They must hate AI. Should the department invoke any FOIA exemptions to withhold responsive records or portions thereof, I request a Vaughan index identifying each. Yeah, let's make this hard. Each withheld document or redacted portion with sufficiently specificity to permit meaningful administrative appeal and, if necessary, judicial review. For each withholding or redaction, identification of specific claims, etc. Okay. Foreseeable harm standard. I respectfully submit the disclosure of the operational flight data requested herein would not cause foreseeable harm to any interests protected by the FOIA exemptions for the following reasons. Their numbers, types, and movements are already publicly observable through ADS-B broadcast data. The airports visited are matters of public record, observable by airport personnel. The dates and times of flight operations are historical facts pertaining to completed travel. Egypt is a close U.S. ally and major recipient of U.S. security assistance. Routine diplomatic flight clearances to and from this partner nation do not implicate sensitive intelligence sources or methods. Disclosure of basic flight data does not reveal aircraft security vulnerabilities, defensive capabilities, or classified technical specifications. It's pretty airtight, honestly. I request a full waiver of all search, review, and duplication fees pursuant to 5 U.S.C. Disclosure is in the public interest because subject matter. The records concern identifiable operations and activities of the U.S. government, specifically the Department of State's exercise of statutory authority under this code. Public understanding. Disclosure will contribute significantly to public understanding of these government operations. There is currently minimal public information available regarding the scope, frequency, and nature of foreign state aircraft operating in U.S. airspace. We have a legitimate U.S. interest in understanding how the department exercises its diplomatic clearance authority. dissemination capability. I'm a journalist who operates an independent media platform focused on investigative reporting and government transparency. I have the means and intent to disseminate information obtained through this request to a broad public audience through video reporting and written analysis. No commercial interest. I have no commercial interest in the requested records beyond their use in journalism serving the public interest. I do not intend to use these records for commercial sale, competitive advantage, or any purpose other than informing public disclosure. Yup. No physical mail is requested or required. I consent to receiving these public documents electronically. I mean, you guys can find this part if you want to find my email. It's not hard to find. Response deadline. Solid. We'll take this out because we're not signing it, at least not physically. What do you think, chat? Are we making a huge mistake? Do you think we're making a huge mistake here? FOIA request for records pertaining to Egyptian aircrafts operating in U.S. airspace. Cool. We won't go through sending the second one, but I'm going to get it started on crafting one. And then let's see if Barron had any more to do with the flights here.
I mean, this is hilarious on a level of hilarity that I didn't know was capable of. An astute viewer of this program sent me this picture. This is an actual Egyptian plane, one of the SU planes. I think this is...
This is funny. I saw this.
SU... this isn't BTT. I think this is BTV, actually. But if you notice, you look, and this is that plane, and it's flying into Delaware, of all places. But there's actually a man in that window. I'll zoom in just a second and get you a better look. But there's actually a man in that window. You see that? There's a man in that window right there. He's sitting in the fourth row of plane SU BVT that was flying from, I think, Wichita or Lincoln to Wilmington in August of this year. This picture was procured online. I have asked the photographer for a higher quality image. I said, can you get me a higher quality image? Like, there's the highest quality I could get. Does anyone recognize this guy?
All right. Imagine if it's Jeffrey. I know, right? Classic. Okay. So we FOIA'd the boys.
That would be enough to collapse the current paradigm and change the whole planet.